right, welcome back to another episode of Mental Health Monday with my friend Alexis. What's good?
Hi.
Hey, welcome. All right, so you work for Bouquet. Let us know about Bouquet and the company itself.
So, as you just said, I'm Lex. I'm with Bouquet. We are a cannabis company that likes to keep flowers at the forefront of your smoking experience, because what do you do with your flowers but put them in a bouquet? So for us, we're primarily known for our rolling papers, but we have other accessories such as trays. We have apparel.
Jacket.
See what I did there? But we have trays, glass tips, because for us, with COVID and everything, we like to say practice safe sesh.
What does safe sesh mean?
So a safe sesh is, a session you get together with your peoples, or just smoking in general is known as a session. So I could have a solo sesh, which is a lot of what I do, but you can have a solo sesh, but it's literally just smoking. And for us, the safe sesh aspect is be aware of who you're smoking with, and how you're doing so. And why we came out with the glass tips especially is you want to smoke with people, but everybody puts their mouth on the same J. If everybody has their own kind of glass tip, you just pass the J around, nothing's getting exchanged. So that's a safe sesh. So we say practice safe sesh.
Okay, all right, no, that's dope. That's dope, dope. But dude, I should start using that in real life. Okay, so what are your thoughts on mental health? It could be anything, just,
That's a very broad question.
It is.
I would say my thoughts on mental health are that it's everywhere, it's prevalent, so it's a necessary topic to be discussed. It's a necessary conversation that needs to be had more often. Mental health affects, I'd say, everyone in some way, shape, or form. So.
Yeah. A lot of the reason I find it so important to partner with you guys is I like the quality of your content. You guys are black, be black. I'm always on the black tip. You push hemp within the limits of the city of DC, which it's legal. Well, for you guys particularly, it's about the papers. Tell me about the importance of Bouquet.
The importance of Bouquet, and why it exists, or
the papers themselves, the product itself.
So I would say the importance of Bouquet. I still don't think I'm understanding the question, but I would say the importance of Bouquet ultimately is to have a company that provides for you and what you need, but supports you at the same time. I think we tend to, it's a conscientious company. So for us, we're a company that says we're for the people, by the people. We give back to the community. So I would say why Bouquet is important is because we give back to the same community we come from. And how many companies truly can say that? We always say that we're your cool next door neighbor cousins. That's not a next door neighbor. Your cousins that live next door. But that's kind of how we say that we are, and it truly.
Take your time.
I don't know how to best explain that. That was an odd. Sorry, it's not an odd question.
You're good.
It's just wasn't expecting that.
Really?
No, yeah, I wasn't expecting that.
Okay.
I also wasn't expecting that line of questioning because I felt like it went backwards. My mind works in a very linear way.
Tell me how your mind works. Because we've had conversations about this after doing those videos with you. And we finally got to meet in person for the first time, which is also hilarious. That the first time we meet in person, we get to do the videos. And I'm like, oh my God, you're as awesome as I thought you were. Which I wonder sometimes if that's rude to say that to people. You're as awesome.
Yes. Do you ever tell people that they're not as awesome? Oh, nice to meet you.
And then after that, I was just the way your mind works to me was fascinating. Because we talked about, maybe reading up on ADHD, right, and relating to content and posts that people have been putting out there and thinking like, hey, is this something I've been dealing with for quite some time? Like, for example, I had a friend who, she called me a couple of days ago. We had a talk, and she had a conversation with her dad about what she might be dealing with, and realizing like, wait, I may have ADHD, and then doing the breakdown of, well, instead of my parents getting me checked up and seeing like, hey, do I deal with something? It was, oh, this particular person's just like that. They'll get over it eventually, or, oh, just sit down. It's not that big of a deal. Instead of like, hey, let's really check this out to see if this person's okay. And we had to have a talk about the pride in a lot of families not getting their kids checked up because they don't want their kids to have something. So if they don't get them checked up, then like they don't have the thing. And it's like, that's not how it works.
It's true.
Yeah. And I know that's funny because like for you haven't gotten evaluated or anything like that. You just see the content and you're like, hey, that might be me.
Yes. So
walk me through the feeling of reading relatable content and thinking, this might be something I want to look into.
That one's difficult to answer.
I got you.
So for me, it's like, I don't know. I don't know if it's so much the recognizing of content. It's like, initially, I think you just start to realize like something's wrong. And then you start to tell people that things may be wrong. And it's like, oh, well, I may, I have things that may be similar, and then you recognize that they have things that may be wrong with them. But I get,
it's a moment.
I'm also thinking like, I feel like social media is such a part of life. At the same time, you also don't know when it blurs together, whether you recognize it from people or whether you recognize it from just seeing it online. Like, it literally becomes like a subconscious thing. But I do know at some point I did see it on Instagram, and I specifically like this one person, Connor DeWolf.
I need to look into that person.
Yeah, he has really great relatable content. He's really funny too. But
It's nice when it's fun.
It is. So for recognizing it, I guess I'm messing up this whole entire story. I feel like you should ask the question again, please.
Walk me through the experience of coming across someone's content and saying, I relate to what's being presented and that thought process.
Okay. So I would say, what do people use social media for? It's kind of like either to see what you want or to see yourself reflected.
Yeah.
I think that's a big thing that people use social media for. And going through the timeline, like I tend to interact with a lot of mental health, I guess, stuff in general. Anyways, I think
if you ever interact with anything, send it my way. I like coming across things and being curious. So.
I'd say I've started looking at a lot of ADHD stuff now. So now it's like the only thing that comes across my feed. But I would say the thing, like, you see things that stick out to you. Like, at first it's like, oh, I recognize something is wrong, right? So I think something's wrong. I go look it up online. What do you see? Okay, maybe I'm like on the spectrum of having autism. So then like you start looking at things on Instagram that could be for like autism. Then you start to see that there's similarities between autism and ADHD. And that's when you start to get more content of then like both sides. And whenever you get both sides, you start to see the slight differences that are between them. And then you start to realize, oh wow, some of this content on this side really is applying. Whereas this other side still may apply, but I don't. So I would say, like, it's interesting to then see yourself reflected, but like a lot of people on there also try and be funny about it. So it's like I see myself reflected, and for me, what I perceive to be as a negative, frustrating thing is somehow like, I don't want to say beautified, because that's not so much it, but it's funny, like it's relatable, it's something you can laugh at, it's something, it's, I guess it's comforting to see that other people deal with what you deal with, and if they are laughing about it and it's okay, like at some point, oh, maybe it'll be okay for me too. And then like once you start to think that you may have ADHD or something, I'll have conversations with people in person. And I know there's this one person I spoke with at a cannabis event, actually. For J Mills. It was one of her cannabis events. And
okay. Shout out to J Mills.
Yeah, shout out J Mills. Mm-hmm. Or shout out J Mills. Went to an event that she was having, and there was another woman there that I actually used to work with at my first dispensary, funny enough. Okay. And I was like, yeah, I think that I may have this, and she was like, oh yeah, me too. She was like, I have it. And I'm like, oh. So we had this conversation, and basically she was like, oh, I'll send you some stuff, like check this out. And I think I may have actually gotten the Connor DeWolf recommendation from her, but I just know Lucy's Cannabis Healing. I'll give that shout out. Lucy's Cannabis Healing again. We had this conversation, and she was like, check out this content. And then some of the what do you call them, symptoms or
characteristics? Yes,
some of the characteristics, thank you, behind ADHD, like things either really catch your attention or they don't, and that's very much so me. That's how I interpret it. Again, I have not formally diagnosed myself with anything.
But as someone who's doing the research and trying to connect dots and have an understanding themselves.
Yes, as someone who has done that, I recognize that some of the characteristics are very much so like, oh, that's me, and one of them is like, it either interests me or it doesn't. So she gave me these really great video recommendations, and I didn't go watch them. I was like, bet, I'll do it.
And you know what's funny is that's a thing. That's a thing. And the only reason I know that is my girl, she deals with ADHD, right? And she didn't know. So the first year we were still dating, we didn't know. She was just like, sometimes I forget some stuff. I'll just move on to something, and then like 3 days later, I'm like, yo, totally forgot to. And then like after getting diagnosed and really sitting down and connecting dots and doing her own research and getting diagnosed, she told me so many things in her life just made sense. And her grandfather was a doctor. So it's like when you grow up in a house where your grandmother's a nurse, grandfather was a doctor, these people were aware of that. For me, it makes me think of how far medicine and the environment of the community itself has come, that we're finally willing to A, go and get tested to figure out what we have, and B, not be villainized for it. Because there was a point where if you had depression or anxiety, or you were diagnosed with such, you were villainized. You weren't treated as you should still be as a person. There was like a quality of life that those folks back in the day, 20 years back or a little bit less, were not getting. So when I hear about people not getting diagnosed or families not trying to figure things out or be aware of it, I'm not surprised, because it's like, well,